You wake up in your bed, same room, same ceiling, but something feels off. The sheets are wrong. They're a color you don't recognize, and definitely not what you remember falling asleep under. You shake it off. Maybe you're misremembering. Maybe you changed them and somehow forgot. You get up to get dressed, and as you open your closet, you notice some of your clothes are gone, replaced by outfits you swear you've never seen. Still, trying to stay calm, you head to work, only to be told you don't work there. People recognize you, but not as who you were yesterday. And the man you've been dating for the past 4 months, he's gone. No phone number, no social media, no trace. It's as if he never existed. This isn't a dream. It's not a movie. It's the true story of a woman who believes she woke up in a completely different reality. Welcome back to Legends May Live, where we explore the strange, the mysterious, and the downright eerie. I'm Drew, and today we're exploring the case of Lorena Garcia, the woman who claims she slipped into a parallel universe. Before her world changed, Lorena Garcia's life was remarkably ordinary. She was in her early 40s, well-educated, professionally accomplished, and living in Spain. She held a steady job with the government, nothing high-profile, nothing flashy, just consistent, predictable work. She had spent years in the same department, knew her co-workers, knew the layout of the building, and knew the routines like the back of her hand. She wasn't particularly adventurous. She wasn't into conspiracies or strange beliefs. She was, by all accounts, a rational person. That's part of what makes this story so compelling. In the months leading up to her strange experience, Lorena had made some personal changes. She had recently ended a long-term relationship. It was a breakup that had taken a toll on her emotionally, but she had started to move on. By the time summer rolled around, she was dating someone new. His name was Augustine. They'd been seeing each other for about 4 months, and things were going well. It wasn't a whirlwind romance. It was comfortable, grounded. It was the kind of relationship that slowly builds trust over quiet dinners and long conversations. Lorena was happy, and for the first time in a while, she felt like her life was moving forward. That's what made what happened next so terrifying. Because when she woke up one morning, it wasn't the same life anymore. It started the way every morning starts. Lorena opened her eyes, stretched, and sat up in bed. But the moment her feet hit the floor, something felt off. The bedspread. It was the wrong color. She was sure of it. Yesterday it was blue, now bright green. One she didn't remember buying. She looked around the room. Nothing huge, no gaping holes in the wall or rearranged furniture, but things felt slightly different. A picture frame tilted just a bit too far to the left. A faint scent in the air she didn't recognize. As she looked down, she realized her pajamas didn't match what she remembered going to sleep in. In fact, she had not remembered them at all. Still, Lorena told herself it was nothing, just false memories, just her mind playing tricks on her. Maybe she had just forgotten that she changed the sheets, and maybe she was a little more tired than she realized. She got dressed and went through her usual morning routine. Everything felt familiar, but somehow odd, like a memory being replayed instead of lived. It wasn't until she got to work that her reality started to unravel. Lorena had worked in the same building for years. She knew the building. She knew the people. But when she arrived at her floor, her name wasn't on the office door. In fact, the office wasn't her office anymore. The people inside looked confused. They didn't recognize her. One of them kindly explained that she didn't work in that department. Not anymore. She was still employed, yes, but in a different area altogether. One she had never applied for. She checked official records, government files, emails, internal systems. Every single thing confirmed the version of her new job. It was as if she had always been there. This was all becoming way too much. So Lorena left work, went and sat in her car, just staring at the dashboard, and as she did, she was feeling lightheaded, like the air around her was heavier than it should be. Her memories didn't match her surroundings, but everyone else and everything else said that they were right and she was wrong. It didn't make sense. None of this made sense. And yet, this was only the beginning. She tried to compose herself, still clinging to the hope that this was all just some kind of really bizarre bureaucratic mix-up. Lorena decided to call the one person who could ground her. Augustine, the man she had been dating for months. Her anchor through the recent changes, her safe space. But when she dialed his number, it didn't go through. No ring or voicemail, just a cold mechanical message saying, "This number is not in service." Confused, she tried again and again and again, but nothing. All led to the same mechanical message. So she drove to his apartment. She pulls up to the same street, the same complex, walks up to the same door she always had. But when she knocked, a stranger answered. Not Augustine, not anyone she recognized. The man inside told her politely but firmly that he had lived there for years, and he lived alone. No one named Augustine had ever lived in that unit to his knowledge. But that was absolutely impossible. They had dated for 4 months. She knew where he lived. She had been there time and time again. So she went around and asked the neighbors. Nothing. No one had seen or heard of him. There was no trace. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Or worse, as if he had never existed at all. Lorena started to spiral. Her home felt off. Her job had changed. Her boyfriend had vanished. She was starting to question everything, including her own sanity. In desperation, she reached out to her ex-boyfriend, the one that she had broken up with before meeting Augustine. And when he answered his phone, she nearly dropped hers. Because to him, they had never broken up. In fact, he believed they were still together. He had emails, texts, photos of them just days ago. All of it looked completely real. None of this matched Lorena's memories. Her memories said one thing and everyone else said something completely different. So now she was faced with this terrifying possibility. Either the world had changed around her, or she was losing her mind. And neither of those were pleasant. With her world unraveling around her, Lorena did the only thing that made any sense to her. She had herself evaluated. She talked to doctors, neurologists, psychologists. She told them everything. She explained how she woke up to the wrong sheets, how her job had changed, how her boyfriend had vanished from existence. She spoke calmly, rationally. She didn't claim anything supernatural. She just wanted to know what was wrong with her brain. They ran tests, brain scans, cognitive assessments, psychological interviews, and the result? Nothing. No tumor, no trauma, no neurological anomalies, no signs of schizophrenia, delusions, or memory disorder. The diagnosis was unnerving in its simplicity. Lorena Garcia was perfectly sane. With medicine offering no answers, Lorena turned to the internet. She wrote a blog post detailing her experience, hoping that someone, just anyone, might have gone through something similar, and the response was instant. Not just comments of sympathy, but people claiming that they too had experienced reality glitches, memories that didn't line up, people who were gone, not just dead, never existed in this version of life. Some called it the Mandela effect, mass remembering of facts and events. Others believe in alternative timelines, overlapping dimensions. A few claimed that it was a sign of quantum instability, that somehow Lorena had slipped or jumped tracks into a neighboring universe almost identical to her own. But when it came down to it, Lorena didn't care what you called it. All she knew was that something had happened that she couldn't explain and that no one could prove. And it was something that no one could fix. The hardest part wasn't the fear, it was the loneliness. Because no matter how many people believed her online, in her day-to-day life, she was still alone in a world that no longer fit. It's been years since Lorena Garcia first told her story, and she's never backed down. She still believes without hesitation that one morning she woke up in the wrong version of reality. Not a dream, not a breakdown, a literal shift in reality. But what could explain something like that? Is it even possible to slip between realities? Some say it is. One theory draws from quantum physics, the idea of the multiverse, that every choice, every possibility creates a new branch of reality. Most of the time we stay on our path. But what if, just once, something knocked us onto a neighboring track? A reality nearly identical to ours, with just a few subtle differences. Others believe in the concept of the Mandela effect. But what if those aren't mistakes? What if they're bleed-throughs from alternate timelines? Of course, there's a simpler explanation too. Psychological dissociation, a stress response to intensely rewire how you perceive your own history. Or maybe just a rare neurological event that slipped through the cracks of modern medicine. But here's what makes the story stick. Lorena wanted to be wrong. She wanted a doctor to tell her that it was in her head. Because then, if it was in her head, she could treat it. She could fix it and move on. But no one ever did. And so, she lives on in this version of the world that's missing a man that no one remembers. Where she's working a job she never applied through. And walking through a life that feels almost, but never quite, right. Maybe it was a break in reality. Maybe it was a break in her mind. Or maybe, just maybe, we're all one strange morning away from waking up in a world that isn't ours. This has been Legends May Live, and if you're hearing this in a version of a reality where I recorded it, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please remember to like and subscribe. Until next time, stay curious.